Hello, thanks for watching this video. This is our Unit 1 Lesson 9 video on energy pyramids. So on your desks or tables right now, you should have a half sheet paper that is your warm-up. You're going to be turning that in, so make sure you've written your first and last name clearly on there. And if they're not right on your desks, please check in with the substitute teacher and ask for those. It's a half sheet that has a food web that looks kind of like this and a bunch of questions. All right, you're going to need your model ecosystem packet today. So period 2, you will be doing water testing. Period 8, you will not be doing water testing today. So period 8, you will actually observe that we have a new creature in there, and so that's why you need your packet out. You're going to be drawing some pictures. You're going to need some headphones or earbuds. If you're watching this video already, you likely have your computer out, and you'll probably need a pencil and colored pencil so that you can fill in your green packet ecosystem tank drawing page if you're in period 8. All right, so moving on from this page, oops, I don't want that number. I would like to switch. There we go. Sorry. So you have a quiz next class, and I just wanted to remind you about that. Your quiz will cover observations. That's qualitative and quantitative observations. Remember, qualitative is when you're talking about the qualities of something. It's soft, or it's murky, or it's blue, or it's crowded, something like that. Quantitative, you are quantifying, you are counting, you have numbers, and you are measuring. So you might say it's 12 grams, or you might be measuring pH or any of your water quality indicators that have number values as the answer. And then inferences, of course, you're not only going to use an observation, but you're using your background knowledge and making a connection. And making a connection to there are more producers or more plants in my ecosystem, and I suspect that's the reason I have more oxygen, something like that, more dissolved oxygen. All right, so on your quiz, you'll have some questions about those observations and inferences. You're going to have some questions about water quality. Remember the big points, right? You want to know your important values for nitrites and for pH and for dissolved oxygen, clarity, and I am forgetting one. What am I forgetting? Temperature, I think. I think I got them all. All right, and so you're also going to be questioned on food chains, food webs, and energy pyramids. So we've been going over food chains and food webs already. We briefly mentioned energy pyramids, but we're going to do energy pyramids today. So on your half sheet, this is what you are looking at. And so if you haven't done it already, please pause the video, answer these questions, and then you'll come back in and check your answers. All right, so hopefully you have gone through and answered some of these questions. So on one side, you are asked to list all of the producers on this food web right here. So the only producer I see, which is usually going to be a plant or plankton or algae or something like that, the only producer I see, and remember, a producer does not have any energy coming into it, so I can see grasses are my producers, right? Grasses don't have any arrows pointing into the grass because we know the grass is getting its energy from the sun. Okay, list all of the primary consumers. That's going to be the first level, first order consumers. And so I have my grasses. Whoever eats the grass is going to be a primary consumer. And so I have 1 is going to be this rabbit, and 2 is going to be this mouse, and 3 is going to be that grasshopper. Those are my primary consumers. Right, secondary consumers are going to be things that eat the primary consumers. Okay, so I'm just going to start with my producer right here. Primary consumer was rabbit. He is eaten by fox, so a fox is a secondary consumer. He also could be eaten by the hawk, so the hawk is a secondary consumer. All right, that's all I see for the rabbit, so I'm going to come over here. If my grass is the producer, primary consumer is the mouse. Well, the fox is a secondary consumer here also, plus that hawk is a secondary consumer, or the owl, right? So for the owl to get energy, it has to go back to the mouse. That's step 1, and the mouse got energy from the grasses, so that's secondary consumer, 2 steps. Finally, I have a grasshopper that's eating grass. So he's a primary consumer, and anybody who eats a primary consumer is a secondary consumer. So frog is a secondary consumer, and bird is a secondary consumer. All right. Did I miss one? Grasses. We go to rabbit and then fox. Fox is one. Rabbit and then hawk. So hawk is one. I went from grass to mouse, and then mouse to fox, mouse to hawk, mouse to owl. And grasses, I went to grasshopper. That's my primary consumer. Secondary consumer is frog or bird. Okay, then if we want to list one tertiary consumer, remember that's third level. So we're going to find our producer and then go 1, 2, 3. Tertiary is that third level. So the snake is a tertiary consumer. He's eating a secondary consumer, the frog, or he's eating a secondary consumer, the bird. And so he's 3 levels away. All right, so if you look on the other side of your warm-up page, it says use the food web below to answer here. And so what is the original source of all food webs? Well, we know that in order for our producers to have energy to provide their own food, they have to get that energy from the sun. Okay, so the sun is really our original, ultimate source of energy that goes into a food web. Where can frogs get their energy from in this ecosystem? So I'm going to look for frogs. Here's my frog. Remember, the arrows always point in the direction the energy is flowing. So I have energy flowing from a butterfly into the frog. I have energy flowing from a grasshopper into the frog. And I have energy flowing from this dragonfly, into the frog, right? So arrows that point into the frog, that shows where the energy is coming from, that it's going to land in that frog. The frog eats a dragonfly, the frog eats a butterfly, the frog eats a grasshopper. Okay, butterfly, grasshopper, dragonfly. All right, and then it says, what are 2 possible things that could happen if something killed off most of the goldfinch population? Right here, that's my goldfinch. Okay, so if we kind of put an X over here, and I can't really do that, but I'm going to try to have like a little arrow. Whoops, it's not letting me do that at all. Back up, just kidding. Okay, if I knock out my finches, you can see that I might have more berries because the finches aren't there to eat the berries, right? I might have ladybird beetles that are more plentiful. There are more ladybird beetles because the finches can't eat those as much. But also that snake population might go down because they don't have as much to eat. They don't have these finches to eat, right? The buzzards might not have quite as much to eat either. They could eat snakes, they can eat mice, they can eat rabbits, but if I take one whole food piece away from them, they might go down in numbers. Also, foxes might go down in numbers because they have less to eat. All right, so remember, anytime we interact with anything inside our food web, it's going to have an effect on pretty much everything. All right, so which organisms are needed for the survival of all the others in this food web? We're going to think first and foremost, what do we need before anything else? And that's going to be our producers, right? So we have to have these marsh grasses and we have to have these cattails. Those are both producers, and they are turning light energy from the sun into food energy or chemical energy for themselves. If we didn't have these producers, we couldn't go any further in our food web. So we're going to say those are our most important pieces. All right. Now, from your seat or when you walked in, did you notice anything new about your ecosystems? Probably you saw that we have fiddler crabs. So notice that the fiddler crabs on this image have different claws. So it's a male if it has one big claw and one small claw. So I have a male right here and I have a male right here. It's a female if we have 2 little claws. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's another example of a male with 1 big claw. This is a female that has 2 little claws. All right, so I have a video that I'm going to try to play for you, and hopefully it will actually have sound. If it doesn't, fast forward, skip over this section of the video, and I will put a link in also for you to watch.
Fiddler crabs are usually found along sea beaches and swamps in West Africa, the Western Atlantic, and Eastern Pacific. The name comes from their distinct asymmetrical claw. When using their smaller claw to eat, it appears as though the crab is playing the larger claw like a fiddle. Fiddler crabs also use their claws to communicate by waving and gesturing. Females choose their mate based on his large claw size. The male will energetically wave it as proof of his health and strength. To the female, his large claw size would indicate the ability to provide the best burrow environment for her clutch of eggs. Fiddler crabs also use their claws to fight. If a crab loses his larger claw, the smaller one will begin to grow larger, and the lost one will regenerate again, though it will not be as large as before. Fiddler crabs live a brief life of no more than 2 years in the wild. Even so, they play a vital role in the preservation of wetland environments.
Okay, so now I want you to think about whether a fiddler crab is a producer or a consumer. Is it producing its own food based on photosynthesis, using the light from the sun, or is it eating other things? And of course, it's a consumer. It's eating other things. We watched these fiddler crabs eat in those videos. All right, so how will your fiddler crab get its energy? It's going to be eating algae, bacteria, and decaying marsh plants. So fiddler crabs feed by sifting through sand or mud for food particles. They often eat in a puddle of water to help separate food from sand. Females have an advantage over males for finding and eating food because both of their claws are small. The adult male's major claw makes feeding more difficult. All right, so please turn to the page that says Model Ecosystem Tank Drawing. So you already have 6 items on this drawing. If you don't, now would be a great time to make sure you have all 6 items that we've done so far, plus you're going to add fiddler crab. Okay, remember you're going to be neat when you're drawing, and anytime you label anything, you guys in 8th period, you did not carefully bring your tank over to your table. But if you need to get up and go see your ecosystem, just make sure your backpack is under your table and carefully slide your chair in so that nobody bumps into anything. Okay. 2nd period, you may be doing the same thing. You may be getting up and looking at your tank, or Miss Russell might have you do something different. Okay, so on your drawing, remember, whenever you label anything, you draw something and you label it, you're going to have a horizontal line. That means it comes straight out to the side, and then you're going to label on your paper. So today you're adding fiddler crab, and you can decide whether you're drawing a female fiddler crab or a male fiddler crab. Remember, that line comes out horizontally. You don't want to have it diagonally coming up or diagonally going down or crisscrossing any other lines. Okay, so you can pause the video and you can go ahead and draw and make sure that you have your fiddler crab plus the 6 other items on your tank drawing. So now that you're done with your tank drawing, and 2nd period, you are done with your model ecosystem water quality measurements. 2nd period got to do this, but 8th period did not. Now you can put away your packets. You can go ahead and put those in your binders, your green packets. So now I want you to consider this. What is the purpose of eating food each day? Why do you choose certain foods over others? So you probably know that eating food, you need to eat food because you need energy, right? You need nutrients so that you can do the things that you need to do every day. And you choose certain foods over others, number 1, because they are available to you, right? Because if it's not there for you to eat it, you can't choose it. And then the other thing is you choose by preference. Sometimes you are choosing just to be healthy. Sometimes that might be a family discussion. So we have different reasons for choosing certain foods over others. All right. Food provides us with the energy that we need each and every day. All right, so true or false? Right now, sitting in class, you are using energy. It is true. Your heart is beating, you are breathing, you're using muscles to be sitting at your desk. True or false? The Elodia in your tank is using energy right now. That is true. That Elodia is in there probably performing photosynthesis because there is light from the sun that's coming in through the windows. Also, it's growing its leaves to be different sizes and it's doing all the things it needs to do. So, true, the Elodia is using energy right now. Animals need a lot of energy. Just having our heartbeat uses energy. We walk, we run, we play, we sit around in class and use muscles to do that. When we eat and drink, even though we're eating and getting more nutrients and hopefully putting more energy into our bodies, we actually need to use energy to process the food and drink that we take in. When we sleep, we are using energy. When we think, when we meditate, all of these things require energy. Plants need a lot of energy too, and so we need plants. Plants need energy so that they can grow, so that they can make new leaves, so that they can make their fruit and their flowers, and they have to do photosynthesis and their other cell processes as well. So plants need energy too. All right, so look at this bunny. Bunny is eating some grass. Here's what we're going to think about. Does this bunny need energy? Yes, it's an animal. Did the grasses need energy? Yes, they did in order to even grow. So we're going to talk about this idea of sun bucks. So right now I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 sun bucks that we are thinking about. That grass has that much energy, 100 sun bucks worth of energy. So let's think about what happens with that. All right, so say the grass outside has 100 units of energy, sun bucks, available to it based on the sunlight it receives. Well, if the rabbit comes and munches on the grass, how much energy is he going to get from all of the grass that he's eating? The thing is he's not going to get 100 bucks worth of or 100 units worth of energy. So let's talk about what happens when he is eating and when we go from being a producer to being in the belly of a primary consumer or even beyond that. All right, so you are going to go through and do your energy pyramid slides. They are assigned to you already in Schoology. So second period, you're going to go into today's folder. You're in the blue ecosystems folder, and then you are in the Unit 1 Lessons 8 and 9 folder, and you're going to find your energy pyramid slides. I'm giving you 25 minutes. It might not take you that long, or it might, but you're going to go through and do each and every one of those slides, and then you'll submit your assignment. Okay, so you're going to pause this video now so that you can work on your slides. All right, so third period had stopped here, and so we should be okay to continue on with second period and eighth period at this time. All right, remember our rabbit. So the rabbit, listen to this, only gets 10 bucks worth of that energy. Remember the grass had 100 units of energy from the sun, and that rabbit who's eating the grass is only going to get 10% of it. He only gets 10 bucks worth of all of that energy that the grass had. Okay, this is part of our energy pyramid. The grass outside has 100 units of energy based on the sunlight. And if a rabbit came and munched on that grass, it would only get 10 sun bucks worth of energy, 1/10. Okay, so most of an organism's energy is just used so that the organism can grow and survive. 90% of the energy that that grass got from the sun is being used so that the grass can do photosynthesis and so that it can grow its roots and grow its leaves and just survive. Only 10% is what gets passed on to the organism that's eating it or consuming it. Right. This diagram, hopefully after you did your Google Slides, hopefully you know this diagram is called an energy pyramid, and it's shaped like a pyramid, and that's because you want to have a visual representation of where the most energy is. Okay, so this energy pyramid shows me that I have the most energy available right here in the bottom level where the producers are. Producers are like cattails, and they're going to be algae and other plants. All right, you can see that I have a lot of energy on that lower level. That energy came from the sun for the producers. Okay, now there's energy that's being lost here. Remember, we lose energy because those plants are having to just survive on their own. Only 10% of the energy goes up to that next level. That's why our next level is much shorter. So we have our primary consumers. They only got 10% of the energy that was available at the bottom level. Okay, and we lose 90% of our energy. Well, going up to the next level, we lose 90% of the energy again. So if I have 100 sun bucks worth of energy down here in my lower level, and I only get to have 10% right up here, 1/10, then I only have 100 sun bucks down here. I'm only going to have 10 sun bucks on this level. Okay, I'm going to lose 90% again. I'm going to only keep 10% or 1/10. So if I have 10 sun bucks, 10 units worth of energy, when I move up to the next level, I only have 1 unit, right? Only 1 unit of energy on that secondary producer. Well, it's still going to lose 90%. It's only going to send 10% up to the next level, or 1/10. So 1/10 of 1 is going to be 0.1 unit of our sunbuck's energy. So my largemouth bass here, he only gets 1/10 of 1 unit of energy. Okay, so every single time we move up one level in this pyramid, we're losing 90% of our energy and we are only passing on 10%. So any place along the way we might have an organism die, and a decomposer will break it down and put nutrients back into the soil. So for the decomposers, there's less and less energy available to them all along the way as well. Decomposers, it's harder to figure out exactly how much energy they're getting because it depends on which level the organism is that it is decomposing. All right. So this is an energy pyramid, and energy pyramids are used to show how energy is used up as it flows through the ecosystem. So again, we have our primary producers at the bottom of our pyramid. They are getting all of their energy from the sun, right? So 100% of their energy is there because they got it from the sun. Then they lose 90%, and we say they lose it as heat. That's usually how we say that. But it's heat as they are doing their life processes, the things they have to do to survive. So we lose 90% as heat, and we only send 10% up to the next level. We lose 90% as heat there and only move 10% of that, or 1/10 of that. So 1/10 of 10% is only going to be 1%. And then we have 1%. That is going to lose 90%, or 9/10 of its energy as heat, and only 1/10 of that will go up to the next level. So if we could go someplace even further, we have an animal that eats that fox, it's going to be even less energy. Right? So every time we go up, we only get to keep 10% of the energy. All right, so here's another energy pyramid. This is something that you would have seen in your slides as well. It's just a reminder about how the food chain works, and it's kind of like it's on its side. So if this over here is a food chain, I have primary producer. My grasses go to, whoopsie daisy, sorry about that. Grasses go to the grasshopper, which is our primary consumer. Grasshopper gets eaten, its energy goes to the frog. He's a secondary consumer. Frog, all of the energy in the frog is going to go to that hawk. So he's a tertiary or third level consumer, right? Tertiary or third level. Oh, it's a falcon, excuse me for saying hawk. So it's the food chain like this. Our pyramid is just showing that food chain going up, but it's also showing you that there's way more energy in all of the plants that are available. There's less energy in the insects. Remember, there's only 10% of the energy in those insects. There's only 10% of that energy in the frogs, and then again, only 10% going to that falcon. All right, here's another energy pyramid. And so plankton, that's going to be algae that is producing its own energy. Okay, so if I think about this being my producer, and I'm looking for secondary consumers, this is my producer. Energy goes to the first order or primary consumer, right? Producer to primary consumer. One step away from producer is my primary consumer. Now the herring right here is 2 steps away, right? He eats a primary consumer eats a producer. So that's whomp, whomp, 2 levels away. So that herring is going to be the secondary consumer. All right. One more time, how much energy is passed on from one level to the next? So how much energy is passed on is only going to be 10%. Okay, only 10% gets passed up to the next level. Most of our energy is lost as heat, is what we will say. All right, so most of our energy is lost as heat as we go up from one level to another. Okay, so thinking back again to our grass that had 100 sun bucks worth of energy, then when our bunny ate that, the bunny only got 10 sun bucks worth, right? Because it only got 1/10 of it. Well, if my fox is going to eat the bunny, fox is only going to get 10%, right? So he's only going to get one single sun buck. He only gets one buck because he's only getting 1/10 of what the bunny had. All right. So, which level do we think has the greatest amount of energy? It's definitely those producers, right? That's why that's the biggest level on our pyramid. Okay, oops, I'll move my timer thing. Okay, and so that's going to be the most energy right there at that primary producer level. All right. And energy pyramids, producers are always going to be on the bottom. And that pyramid shape is just representing how we get less and less energy as we move away from those producers. Okay, the pyramid shape represents the way that energy is used up. And the higher you go up toward the top, the less energy there is that's available at all. Okay, so no Kahoot for you today. There will be a Kahoot right before your quiz next class. And I have some more things that you can be working on. So, let's take a look at Schoology, and you're following along and making sure you've done all the things in Schoology. So right now you're gonna click out of your, don't click out of the slideshow because you're still listening to me. When you look at Schoology, you're gonna see that you have an exit ticket that you need to do today. Please do both attempts if you don't get 100% the first time. Of course, you may use your notes, okay? And then if you finish your exit ticket, I've got some other things to do. All right. So now if you want to minimize the video and look over at Schoology, you can, or if you want to watch what I'm doing first and then you can do Schoology on your own, that's fine. All right, so in Schoology, for second period and for eighth period, you're going to see this information. Okay, so I realize that I'm in the eighth period class right now, but it's true for second period as well. So the first thing that you would have seen on Schoology is you would have seen that you have this lovely bright pink folder that says Monday, October 7, sub day. So if you're in second period, Miss Russell would walk you through all of this. But if you were absent, you can go through and do these items. And in eighth period, what should you do today? You're going to follow this list. So number 1, complete the warm-up on the half sheet of paper that was on your table. And so you have probably done this already. I sure hope so. You'll get out headphones or earbuds or whatever you're using. And then you opened the teaching video that was this with me talking and watched it completely. Okay, in doing that, you would have gone through your warm-up questions and paused when you needed to pause, and then you would have had a Google Slides assignment that you were working on that you had 25 minutes or so to work on. All right, so when you get to the video, the part of the video that tells you to complete that Google Slides assignment, you of course pause your video and then do that. Okay, now you have completed that and you have submitted that, and we went through on this video and checked some of those answers. And so now I'd like for you in eighth period to complete a formative assignment called U1L9 practice. Eighth period, this is required. Second period, this you're going to have to ask Miss Russell whether that is required practice or not. It is extra practice so that you're super well prepared for your quiz next class. All right, and you also need to complete your Unit 1, Lesson 9 exit ticket, everybody, okay? So second period and eighth period. All right, so after you've done that, please double check that nothing is missing from your green ecosystems packet. So you should have all the boxes filled in from any of the days that you took data. And so, second period, you took extra data today. Eighth period, you do not have new data today. But everybody should now have 7 organisms drawn and labeled neatly in the ecosystem tank drawing page. So, you should have Alodia, Chlamydomonas, Daphnia, Spirogyra, duckweed, oopsie daisy, that's weed right there, sorry, not weak, Kabamba, and now fiddler crabs. Okay, if you still have time, you're going to see if you can play one of the food chain games that's listed in this folder. Okay, so here's our Unit 1, Lesson 9 practice on formative. 8th period, you have to do this. 2nd period, check with Miss Russell. All of you have to do Unit 1, Lesson 9 exit ticket. And here are some food web games that you can try. I don't know which ones of those will open for you. That's why I gave you through 3 different options. So that's just for fun. That's just for fun and for extra practice. Those are not required. All right, and for the record, I have now fixed where I accidentally said duckweek. I have retyped that so it says duckweed. That is going to be one of your 7 organisms that you have drawn on your ecosystem packet. All right, so finally, after you have made sure that you have all 7 of those organisms drawn in your packet, if you still have time, of course, you can try to play any of those food web games, and you can let me know if they worked or if they didn't work. You shouldn't have to sign in or log into anything. It should just be that you're allowed to play them. But of course, since I'm not at school checking this out, I don't know what's going to be blocked. All right, if you still have time at this point, definitely check SIS. For sure, check SIS for science. Make sure you're not missing any assignments. If you see NTI in SIS, you either need to complete the assignment that's missing and then email me, or email me, or if it's for another class, your other teacher, to get clarification. So remember, if you complete an assignment after that grade is entered in SIS, your teacher doesn't know unless you email them. Okay, it's not automatically graded, and your teacher has to update that. And when you send an email, be as specific as you can. Say what class period you're in and say exactly what the name of the assignment is. If you want to be really awesome, for me, for an exit ticket, you can say, I completed Unit 1, Lesson 5 exit ticket, and I got 5 out of 5 or 8 out of 8 or whatever it was. That just makes things much faster for me. Also remember that those exit tickets, you have 2 weeks to complete them, and then they are not likely available to you anymore. So if that's the case, if it doesn't open for you, it's probably just kind of past the time that you would be able to work on that. Okay, I know that was lots of information, and I appreciate you working super hard. You could email me if you have questions, but chances are I won't be able to reply to you on Monday. I might be able to reply on Tuesday, though. So I hope you all had a great day. I hope your sub was just fantastic. If so, please say thank you to him or her as you leave, and make sure that you clean up your desk area and slide your chairs in and all that sort of thing when it's time to leave. All right, thanks again for watching.